We love discoveries on this channel, and in this video, we're accepting discoveries from anywhere. It doesn't matter whether they were made by archaeologists, paleontologists, scientists, or astronomers. The one thing they all have in common is that they're incredible finds that come with amazing stories. Let's get started. The Canyon Diablo meteorite fell to Earth in Arizona, USA, more than 50,000 years ago. This visitor from outer space was first discovered in 1891, but in July 2022, it was examined with new technology for the first time, and a strange discovery was made. The meteorite contains diamond crystal structures of a kind that scientists have never seen before. The interwoven microscopic structures within the meteorite are made of diamond and graphite, and have properties that could potentially assist with the development of new types of electronics. The structures are very light, as strong as diamond, transparent, and highly conductive. They're also 1 million times thinner than the average human hair. There are obvious uses for such a material, ranging from super fast charging electronics to targeted weapons and strong but flexible materials, like body armor. It took us more than 100 years for us to realize that the Canyon Diablo meteorite contains a gift from across the stars, so hopefully it doesn't take us another century to work out what to do with that gift. Archaeologists find coins almost every day, and most of those coins are uninteresting. That only serves to make the ones that aren't uninteresting all the more exciting. With that in mind, here's an exceptionally rare Roman coin featuring a depiction of a zodiac symbol, which was found off the Israeli coast, close to Haifa in July 2022. The bronze coin would be considered rare even if it didn't have the zodiac symbol on it, because it was minted during the time of the Roman Emperor Antoninus Pius. Very little coinage from his reign, which ended almost 2,000 years ago, has survived to the present day. Despite being Roman, the coin was actually minted in Alexandria, Egypt. The zodiac symbol stamped onto its surface is that of the crab, which corresponds to the star sign Cancer. There's also a woman's face on the coin. Experts are fairly sure that's a representation of Luna, the goddess of the moon. The coin is one of what would have been a series of 13, 12 of which would feature zodiac signs, and the 13th would feature the entire zodiac wheel. We're unlikely to ever find the rest of the collection, but this precious survivor is more than enough. Who took a collection of classic and luxury British cars and dumped them all in a field outside Edinburgh, Scotland? We have no idea, but we do have plenty of pictures of the twisted remains of the vehicles after they were found by urban explorers in July 2022. From the images, we can see that most of these forgotten cars were once British classics like Austins and Jaguars, some of which seem to have been deliberately lined up, almost as if they're headstones in a graveyard. Is this supposed to be a classic car graveyard? Is it a modern art exhibition? If so, nobody in the local area knows anything about it. What's clear from the pictures is that the vehicles have been here for a very long time. Most of the cars are somewhere between 40 and 60 years old, and it wouldn't be unreasonable to estimate that they've been standing here in the open for at least half their lives. That raises the possibility that whoever built up this collection passed away a long time ago, which would explain how and why the rot set in. But it would be nice to have a little certainty. During work to replace a water main below Magistranskaya Street in Vinnytsia, Ukraine, a rusty old chest was discovered in the foundations in August 2017. The chest was a confusing thing to look at. Aside from the fact that it appeared to be covered in centuries of rust, it had a series of German inscriptions on the side, accompanied by the Star of David. This part of Vinnytsia was once populated by a Jewish majority in the days before the Second World War. So is this a German relic or a Jewish one? Who owned it, and where did it come from? A team from Vinnytsia Museum was called, and they decided that opening it would be the best thing to do. That involved the use of specialist cutting tools and only deepened the mystery. The box is actually a safe that dates back to the early 20th century, and is Polish as opposed to German. Inside it was a set of documents that appear to constitute the technical schematics of a power plant. This raises the possibility that the owner of the schematics didn't want technological information to fall into Nazi hands, and buried them inside the safe as the Germans approached Venezia during the early days of their offensive. The Battle of Fredericksburg was fought in and around Fredericksburg, Virginia, USA, between December 11th and December 15th, 1862. That was a long time ago now, but we got a glimpse of the time frame of the war when what's been described as a Battle of Fredericksburg time capsule was found in 2012 during an archaeological survey of a plot next to Fredericksburg's new city hall. Rather than being a sealed capsule, the discovery consists of a row house that burned during the battle, thus preserving hundreds of artifacts inside it under dense layers of ash and debris. Evidence collected from the site suggests that this was once the home of Peter Gulrich, the mayor of Fredericksburg immediately prior to the Civil War. The remains of the property include its sandstone cellar walls, its brick fireplace, and some pine floorboards. Objects collected from the scene suggest that the property played an active role of some kind in the war, as there are bullets, tobacco pipe bowls, cartridge boxes, ration tins, and broken whiskey bottles among the haul. Archaeologists also recovered buttons and metal company insignia from the uniforms of Union soldiers. History doesn't record what happened in or to this house, so the find is quite a mystery. New construction projects are often a good way to come across ancient discoveries. In early August 2022, archaeologists in Hungary dug through a site that's been earmarked for the construction of the new M100 motorway close to the town of Mani. In doing so, they came across a small cluster of high-status burials from the Bronze Age. 8 burials were found at the site in total, including one of a woman who was no more than 20 years old when she passed away. She was buried with more grave goods than the other 7 people, and so may have been the highest ranked among them, despite her tender age. Her burial goods include 38 objects made from gold and bronze, such as torques, spiral armlets, gold rings, and hair rings, as well as a collection of small ceramic pots. She had a ring on each of her fingers, which was a sign of high status during her era. Very little is known about the Bronze Age inhabitants of this part of Hungary, but after examining these grave goods, we can at least say that they were advanced metalworkers. NASA's Perseverance rover might be the new kid on the block on Mars, but the Curiosity rover is still there, and still working hard after 10 entire years on the red planet. At the moment, it's focusing its attention on unusual rock formations, and in June 2022, it sent back pictures of some truly bizarre-looking twisted rock towers. The towers stick out like sore thumbs amid the otherwise shallow sands and boulders of the Gale crater. If we were to view them poetically, the towers look almost like jets of water that have frozen as they fell from the sky. According to scientists, the twisted towers likely came from a cement-like substance that once filled the cracks of bedstone here. The softer rock has long since eroded away, leaving only these snaking streams of harder material behind. There's an earthly equivalent to this phenomenon. We call them hoodoo rocks, and they're especially prevalent in the deserts of Utah, USA, and also Serbia in Europe. It's thought that the Gale crater is a dried-up lake bed, and discoveries like these towers make that more likely. Why did an enormous sinkhole appear in the Chilean desert at the end of July 2022? Well, we wish we knew, and so do scientists. The hole is bigger than a tennis court and appeared overnight at a site close to a copper mine in Chile's Atacama Desert. Scientists were asked to attend the scene and take measurements, so we now know that the unexplained hole is 104 feet across and just over twice as deep. While there's so much uncertainty about the nature of the hole and its origins, a security fence has been erected around it. Scientists can't even rule out the possibility of another similar hole appearing in the area in the near future. The Alcaparrosa underground mine close to the scene is still active, so it's tempting to assume a connection between mining operations and the appearance of the sinkhole. But that's yet to be proven. The mine has been open for many years, and nothing like this has ever happened before. There are 13,000 people living in the vicinity of the hole, and they would greatly appreciate some clarification on the question of whether their homes are likely to fall into an enormous hole in the ground anytime soon. The idea of a brine pool under the sea sounds faintly ridiculous. After all, how can a pool exist in an area that's already full of water? The answer is that we're talking about two different types of water. Brine doesn't mix or interact with the water around it, which is why and how there are dozens of deep-sea brine pools in the Red Sea. They're hypersaline lakes and stay close to the sea floor. These pools are among the most extreme environments on Earth, but are dangerous to explore or even to get close to because of their total lack of oxygen. We have to study them, though, because doing so could help us to understand how life could exist on other planets. It's commonly accepted that life on Earth began in the sea, most likely in anoxic environments just like these brine pools. In the brine pools, we find extremophile microbes capable of surviving in conditions that would be fatal for upwards of 90% of all life on Earth. Examining the properties of these microbes might tell us how to look for and identify life on water-world exoplanets. But the microbes might also be the keys to the development of new medicines. Molecules within anti-cancer and antibacterial properties have been extracted from brine pool microbes in the past and will be again in the future. Padua's 14th century Fresco Cycles sounds like the name of an art exhibition of the kind that might come to your nearest big city one day soon, but it's nothing of the sort. It is, in fact, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You'll find it, fittingly enough, in Padua, Italy. There are 8 buildings at the site, some of which are religious in nature and some of which are secular. Inside those buildings are fresco cycles, which were painted over the course of the 14th century. The first of the paintings was committed to the walls in 1302, and the last was added in 1397. Painters who worked on the frescoes include some of the greatest names of their era, including Jacopo da Verona, Giotto, Giusto de Manabui, Altichiero da Seville, and more. The frescoes are considered unusual by the standards of 14th century art because of the way the characters depicted in them portray their emotions in a realistic manner, rather than the exaggerated style that was popular at the time. The style of the frescoes in Padua would go on to inspire the way that frescoes were painted in Italy throughout the Italian Renaissance and into the future. Once upon a time, Port Royal in Jamaica was known as the wickedest city in the world. During the late 17th century, it was a lawless place and a focus of pirate activity and drunken debauchery. Allegedly, as many as 1 in 4 of all the buildings there was either a bar or a brothel, and some of them were both. Incredibly strong rum was brewed here, and the stolen money was accepted in the bars and hostelries with no questions asked. When a huge earthquake struck the area and sank half of the city in 1692, many people of the time viewed it as a punishment from God. 33 acres of the land, which had been built on sand, was sucked below the waves. Despite being below 40 feet of water, many of the old buildings and artifacts are still so well preserved that some experts compare it to Pompeii in terms of historical significance. Many items from below have washed up on the shore over the years, including a 1686 pocket watch stopped at 11:43, the exact time the earthquake struck on June 7th during that fateful year. The Prima Air and Space Museum in Tucson, Arizona, USA, is precisely what it sounds like. It's a museum that holds exhibitions and displays relics of the past of aviation. It also plays host to an extremely colorful boneyard of World War II era planes, some of which have been visited by some of the most noted graffiti artists in the world. The older and more ragged planes, those which are less suitable for public display, are kept at the back of the facility and have become a canvas for the artists, who are invited to come down regularly and give the old aircraft a fresh lick of paint. Over time, the graffiti artists have been joined by more conventional artists, who've created beautiful paintings on wings and nose cones. The practice of painting the planes in the boneyard started in 2012, and some of the exhibits are now considered so valuable that they've been moved back inside for preservation and safekeeping. It's an interesting and innovative way of demonstrating that just because something no longer has a purpose, it doesn't need to be abandoned permanently.
Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.